Hello and welcome into Tobacco Road and Abroad. My name's Gareth Parsons, joined by Aiden Marr. We have a lot today on the docket to talk about, some interesting things draft-wise, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs, and then obviously some college baseball because we had some pretty crazy things happen this weekend across college baseball or in just, the last month. And obviously some bracketology stuff for college baseball as well. So without further ado, obviously, plenty of storylines around the draft. Is there anything in particular you'd like to start with? Because there's a lot here we could talk about with the draft.
There's a lot we can talk about, but let's talk about round one and how it all went down. Cam Ward, number one overall pick, going to Tennessee. I've been looking back at a lot of like Cam Ward's tape, and I gotta say, like by far, he is the best quarterback in this draft class, in my opinion. I mean, just absolute like physical specimen, and like really can chuck the ball. Like just I see a lot of like Josh Allen in him, like really able to like sling it and also make like pretty solid runs and be like a real force. So I like this pick for Tennessee. Do I think it's going to be like a real franchise changer overnight? No, but I think it's the good pick. But then after that, little draft chaos happening. Jacksonville traded up and got Travis Hunter. Cleveland originally had the second pick, but Jacksonville saw what they wanted, and they saw what was called during the broadcast the unicorn of the draft, and they saw him and they just went after him. Gareth, what are your thoughts on this trade?
Um, I don't know. Obviously, my whole thing is when I see something I disagree with, in the draft or like see something that kind of puzzles me, I always think, I'm not like an NFL GM. There's something going on behind the scenes that I obviously don't know. So obviously with this trade, I mean, this was for, you know, Travis Hunter, and it was kind of known that, or at least it seemed to be known in like Brown circles and like just kind of around the NFL that number two pick was going to be Travis Hunter to the Browns. And it kind of honestly, it surprised me with how many of the Browns fans I've talked to, they were like dead set on they wanted Travis Hunter, and it just didn't happen. I'm just wondering. But obviously, I think the Browns still scored with the pick that they got. Obviously, Mason Graham out of Michigan, he's a dominant defensive tackle. He led Michigan's entire team in tackles, so obviously very good pick. A Michigan team, while yes, they had a subpar performance this year, they still had some big performances. Jumped up, got Ohio State, got Alabama, and pretty dominant defensive performances. So I'm not sure how I feel about this. That this draft was just kind of like an odd fever dream for me because I was like, flipping back and forth between the draft, NHL playoffs, college baseball, a lot going on. It could have just been that. That's why it was a fever dream. But honestly, it was. So there was a lot of stuff that was like there were some real head scratchers in this draft, and I think that's just kind of like all that compiling. Like I could see this, like obviously I'm happy for Travis Hunter, like he earned that number two overall spot, but I'm just like I'm kind of questioning what the Browns thought they were getting there. I mean, obviously, like
Well, with
the
that trade, the Browns received the number five pick in the first round, second round, 36th pick, fourth round, 128th pick, and in 2026 they will receive the first round pick from the Get Jaguars, and I believe that's all the what the Browns got out of that. So
and and all they gave up was Travis Hunter. They didn't give up any other picks for it
let's see.
because
The
if that's
Jaguars, who
all,
received the number two pick, a fourth round choice, uh, 104, and a sixth round selection, number 200 in this draft. So
honestly
really, what
valid.
the
I think they won that trade.
what the Jaguars like got is well gave up was next year's first round pick, and the Browns just have an extra first round pick next year.
Yeah, that's I can see why they got a lot of capital with that, and obviously I know some of the Brown I mean ultimately we all know the Browns ended up taking like people like Dylan Gabriel and just some other stuff. Um, and honestly, I feel like I know the Browns haven't been a really good franchise as of late, but I will say when they those first couple seasons with Baker Mayfield where they made the playoffs, that was quite the turnaround considering where they had been. So obviously, um, this is a organization that knows how to turn it around. And looking at their draft picks, um, outside of like I don't question a lot of them. They look really good. I mean, Mason Graham, Carson Schweisner, Quinshawn Judkins, Harold Fannin, Dylan Gabriel, and then Dylan Sampson doubling down on two dominant college running backs. I think the plan is while they develop, Dylan Gabriel or Shadur or whoever they end up going with, I think the goal there is just going to be kind of have a really solid defense and just try and run the rock and just try and pound the ball, which I think that's outside of a tight end, a rookie quarterback's best friend is a healthy run game. So whether that be helping out, old man Joe Flacco teach these youngins, or whether it be these youngins being turned loose, I think a healthy run game will be helpful between those two power packs. So I think obviously now that Rich, you've told me see, refreshing myself what they got out of it. I honestly think this was a smart trade because the Browns' problems were a lot bigger than just a lockdown corner and a decent wide receiver than like a two-way player. Their problems were not going to be solved by a two-way player, and I think that's with what they got out of it as well in terms of picks next year. I feel like that was solid trade by them.
Yeah, and definitely, I feel like Jacksonville, like, I don't want to say they're in win now mode, but with like the state of their division, their real only competition is going to be Houston. And like if I had to put money on who I think is going to make the play that has a better shot at the playoffs, I do think like Jacksonville would benefit from a player like Travis Hunter more than the Browns would right now, just because the AFC North is just so stacked right now. Like you got Pittsburgh, like perennial, uh, just over 500 team that finds a way to make it to the playoffs. You got the Ravens and I already said the Browns. Uh, God damn it, I'm blanking right now.
Bengals.
The Bengals, and like obviously the Bengals are like coming off a little bit of a tough year, but like the Bengals are always tough. Like they're always going to be tough. The Browns need like a full kind of like rebuild right now to like get into like any frame of a playoff run. And I'm not saying that Jacksonville's going to be making the playoffs next year. I'm just saying they have the path to the playoffs for Jacksonville is a lot easier than the path to the playoff for the Browns. So with that, I feel like Jacksonville, with like a couple bold moves, could very well like be in a good running for a regular season run. And I think that's what their minds were at. And they're like, hey, we see this talent that we could really capitalize off of. Travis Hunter's like once in a generation type of player. Like,
Obviously, yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think they're going to use him a lot on defense, and I think he's going to be a good tool, maybe in like red zone scenarios for Trevor Lawrence, because his production has been kind of iffy. He needs like a good. He kind of needs. He hasn't been wowing us, particularly
Yeah.
speaking. Give him a good receiver like Travis Hunter that you can have in like the red zone scenarios. I'm not saying you're using him all time on offense, but he could be very good in those red zone scenarios. And I can already see now like a couple fade routes into the end zone. I feel like that like Trevor Lawrence would be very able to like capitalize off it because Travis Hunter one thing I like about him, very good at the 50-50 ball. Like very like with the mind of the like cornerback that he has, like defensive mind, I feel like he has an advantage when it comes to like 50-50 balls, more so than like a lot of the receivers in this draft. So
Yeah.
I think this is like an absolutely good pick for Jacksonville, and I think it's a smart future move for Cleveland.
He's a big target. It's not only that he can go and get it. Yeah, he has like the skill to do it. He's also just big too.
Hmm.
So it's yeah, I think that's a good pick, and like you said, big target for Lawrence to go for. So um,
But then after that, Abdul Carter, the number one edge in this draft, got drafted by the New York Giants. I think it was a good pick by New York. I like Abdul Carter a lot. I wanted him, and just overall good pick going on. Just going through everything else. Will Campbell went to the Patriots. I absolutely love Will Campbell. I think he's a great offensive lineman. I really liked his, like, I was seeing clips of his interviews like after the draft, and I was like, gosh, I sent it to Gareth, and I was like, New England's gonna get 10 Super Bowls with Drake May, with this man protecting him. But I like Will Campbell a lot. Cleveland selected Mason Graham, a good defensive tackle. I like him a lot. Ashton Genty going to the Raiders. Uh, I like Ashton Genty a lot. I don't know how I feel about him going to the Raiders though, just because like the Raiders are like they're kind of like a radioactive franchise in my mind. And like, granted, a lot of the like teams early that pick early, like you're going to be going to like a lesser team. I just don't know if Ashton Genty is really going to be able to shine in Las Vegas, especially at the NFL level when you got like line issues and stuff like that, especially when you're going up against like the AFC West with like the Chiefs, the Broncos, the Chargers. All these teams like usually have like pretty solid like defenses to like go up against like an offensive line. And I just don't think that Vegas really has it. So I'd like to see what Ashton Dinty does there, but I'm limiting my expectations if that makes sense. I don't think there's going to be a overnight like pick for the Raiders. I feel like there's going to be some growing pains, and I think there's going to be some calls into question of Ashton Jinty's skill, which I feel like is going to be very unwarranted.
yeah, for me, I really don't feel like this is the right pick for the Raiders. I feel like yes, he's like a generational talent at running back, and I get you don't want to skip on him, but for a lot of these really bad teams, their problems are not going to be fixed by taking, these like big name skill position players. Like I feel like in the NFL, if you can get solid guys in the trenches, you can get by with, I'm not saying they're not as talented, but you can get by with trying to develop skill position players rather than trying to develop line players. Like, yes, I'm not saying you can't find some diamonds in the rough when it comes to offensive and defensive linemen, but with how much defensive talent and just offensive line talent was in this draft to like skip on it for, and I get, it's Ashton Genty. He's, probably the best running back of the draft. But and I know you and I have a little bit different philosophy when it comes to draft picks. We agree on a lot of like, ultimately, like, you take the best player available, but is he the best? Like my whole thing is it the best player for you that's available? Like, I think at some point you've got to take into account your team needs. Like, obviously, like there's limitations to both Aiden and I's draft strategy. I realize that. Like, if for some unknown reason Cam Ward fell to the Panthers, I don't know if I would have been like, don't take it. Or if for some reason, say Abdul Carter fell to the Panthers. I mean, granted, we need an edge. We do need an edge rusher. But like, or say Ashton Genty fell to the Panthers. I don't know if I would have, been, against that. Particularly because we also do need a running back, which I will get into later why I'm okay with using one of our picks on a running back, even though we didn't need one. But yeah, it like you said, it was just this was another thing that added like the fever dream of it, is because I feel like I know I've said this with other teams, the Raiders' problems were a lot bigger than a running back.
Yeah.
Like I feel like
I mean, that
I feel
was
like
on their team needs. And I'll say this, one of their team needs that they didn't end up drafting, offensive guard. They did not get an offensive guard on this, or a safety on this draft, and those were two of their very big needs. They did
Yeah.
in later rounds get more offensive tackles, but still nothing on the offensive guard, which
Yeah, you don't want guys rushing right in your face. That's right down the middle.
mhm.
So, yeah, elsewhere in the first round, what's another one I want to bring up? I mean, obviously, Panthers taking Tet McMillan. I'm torn on this. Like, yes, we needed a receiving threat, but I feel like looking at what the other teams took, I feel like he would have still been there in the second round if that's who we honestly wanted. And if we were gonna go receiver in the
I
first
don't think
round,
I don't think he still would have been there. I mean, uh, Green Bay took Matthew Golden in the first round. That's a good receiver. And we were talking about how this receiver class wasn't like that loaded. So if Green Bay was in like receiver mode, which they were kind of indicating with their later pick, I don't think he would have been on the board. But I've been 50-50 on this, like with you.
my thing is if we were gonna take a receiver in the first round, I would have gone Emeka Ibuka. Just he was dominant with Ohio State all season. I know he was kind of, backup man to Jeremiah Smith, but he got solid catches, and I honestly feel like he was the better option. I know certain Panthers fans don't feel that way, but I would have preferred Emeka Ibuka over that. Now I'm not saying I'm not excited about Tet. I've seen his tape; it's really exciting. He's really good at making guys miss in space, and I'm not saying I'm not excited by that, but like it's just I know it's like beating a dead horse here. The Panthers' problems, what we need to have addressed in the first round, is bigger than a receiver, and this could be like a little out there. I know you didn't necessarily agree with this sentiment, and I was told by other Panthers fans that this sentiment's a little out there. For the defensive talent that was available in the first round, Tet McMillan needs to, for me to kind of justify using this pick on someone else. Now, I'm not saying we didn't clean up in free agency and it won't be okay. Like I think this team could still be really okay. It's just he really needs to show something special over the next 2 weeks. I know, first season's always a little rough for receivers, but like he really needs to show some exciting upside in these first 3 years to really make me feel like this pick's worth it.
Yeah.
The talent's there. There's no denying it, but like taking him over Mikael Williams, over Jalen Walker, over Jahad Campbell, over Derek Harmon, over James Pierce Jr., over Malachi Starks. Like, I am not sure. Like, no, I'm not an NFL GM, obviously, for obvious reasons. But if I were an NFL GM, I don't know if I could have passed on those guys.
Yeah.
But, hey, hindsight's 50-50. So,
2020.
whatever, 2020.
But we'll see. We'll see. I mean, like, I just have a bad gut feeling, but on paper, all of this does seem good. Like any like big receiver that we can get for Young, I'm for, especially like considering like some size like issues that have been brought to that have always been coming with Young. So like getting a big receiver like McMillan on paper is a very good idea, and we're obviously indicating that we're all in on him. I just I'm I don't know. I'm split. I'm split. I don't want to call anything like too early, and like all the so-called experts are saying like this is a great pick for the Panthers, and I believe like the draft class has been given like an A ranking overall. So can't necessarily like complain, but all I know is like this season, once the regular season starts, my eyes are going to be on McMillan. Like I want to. It's not going to be like previous years where I'm like, okay, give it like I usually don't like try to scrutinize a receiver, especially like a rookie receiver. But I'm gonna be looking. I'm gonna be peeking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna be looking. But moving forward, in the first round. One pick that I think kind of speaks uh, is like something that I took note of was the Eagles picking Jahad Campbell, linebacker. That was a good pick in my opinion. I don't know how he got that low on the first round, in my opinion. And like, I think the fact, like, I don't know how he slipped like into the Eagles' hands, but somehow the Eagles got him. He's a really good defender, and I like him a lot. I feel like he's going to be causing a lot of fits for a lot of teams that might look past him because I see him uh, being a real impact player for the Eagles.
In that defensive scheme too, oh my lord, that's going to be a nightmare.
Somebody's getting fired for that blunder right there, passing up on it. They
Yeah,
just
a lot of people are. Aiden's famous somebody's getting fired draft comments.
yeah. I feel like if there's a steal of the draft of the first round, that's my pick right there. Jahad Campbell going to the Eagles. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah, exactly.
But UNC running back Omar and Hampton got selected by the LA Chargers. I like Hampton a lot. Obviously, I'm a little bit biased, but I see him being a real good running back. I feel like he could take maybe some of the load off of Herbert if he's really effective. And like I like this pick a lot. Like they got what they like could get with running back, and I feel like if like I'm gonna be like making my like a little bit of bold predictions, but I see him having a better rookie year than Ashton Genty right now. If you just look at like off the teams and like where they're going to be, like I feel like Omar and Hampton's going to have a lot less of a load on him, and I feel like he's going to be able to make a lot like some really good plays. And like I see him making the case for being rookie of the year over Ashton Genty, well, offensive rookie of the year. If we're like looking into the future right now, which obviously, like
Yeah.
my takes are as good as like the piece of paper that they're written on. So like take that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and especially being splitting carries at J.K. Dobbins, that's a especially with a good offensive line in front of him, that is going to be a prime opportunity. Not that like he's already really talented, and not that he has to learn that much, but like he's going to be learning behind a good NFL running back who's like been successful with a good line. I feel like that is a he could not have stumbled into a better situation. The only other situation where I feel like like would have been an absolute grand slam was if he went to the Eagles with that offensive line. Now he may not have been getting the carries there, but it's just like he'll have the ability to learn. He won't be taking, the brunt of the blow. He'll be able to kind of like learn in a low pressure environment with a great offensive line of the Chargers. Well, not only having Dobbins, but like the passing attack that the Chargers have, it's just going to be, I feel like he could not have stumbled into a better situation for him, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like I feel like he's going to have a great opportunity to learn and develop there.
I really like Indianapolis's pick of Tyler Warren from Penn State. He was like absolute everyman, like in every type of man at Penn State. He could run, he could pass, he could catch. Really effective tight end. I'm excited to see what he does at the higher level. I don't think they're going to be utilizing him as much as like a like in like all the trick plays and stuff like that. Like I don't see him being like any type of like revolutionary changing the game. He's the
Yeah.
first tight end to like throw touchdowns and rush and stuff like that. But I can see him going in some very interesting like formation and like being utilized to the fullest. I'm excited to see how his NFL career turns out, just because absolute physical specimen, just real interesting player. And I feel like he I don't know how the Colts are going to use him, but I could see them like if they're smart, like use him right because you got a good pick in that one.
Yeah, and I feel like just with the type of offense they run and just the weapons they're going to have. They have a lot of athletes on that team. So it's really going to be interesting to see how the Colts turn out this year. More on that later. We have more on that later. More on that later.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say the Colts are definitely going to be interesting based off, like I said, I'll elaborate later, but I think the Colts are going to be an incredibly interesting team to watch in the coming years if they keep their current set of players. Just interesting team to watch. Well, looking at elsewhere in the first round, sorry, I'm just kind of perusing my notes. Of course, I closed out of the draft board. Here we go. Malachi Starks falling to the Ravens. That's just another dominant piece added to the Ravens defense. Another guy who I wanted the Panthers to get. Don't know how he fell that. That's another guy where I was like, I don't know how he fell that far. Now, in terms of the Ravens' defensive needs, I'm not as up to date of whether or not, he's going to be an instant impact type of guy, but Malachi Starks he started the year at Georgia. He's had 197 tackles, defended 23 passes, had 6 picks. He's not only a really good run stopper, but they said he tracks out of all the safeties in the draft. They said he is one of the best at like tracking balls and like, just kind of ball hawking and like being where he needs to be, anticipating where a pass is going to go. That's honestly someone where I would have liked to see them on our defense. But I know when it came to, DBs and like, or not DBs, but like ball playing defenders like a safety or a linebacker, our needs more aligned with run stopping. So I can kind of understand why we pass on Starks, as he's more of a, passing package guy. So another one I think you and I have touched on, have interesting opinions on, is Jackson Dart.
I don't know how I feel about this pick for the Giants. Here's my thoughts right now. Okay, so obviously with they have another first round pick. They want to get a QB right now. I mean, am I saying Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston are like your future franchise quarterbacks for the next like 5 years? No. Russell Wilson is at best going to be at the Giants for like a year until he retires next year or retires or gets sent off somewhere else. But Russell Wilson isn't that bad. And do you want Jackson? So I don't see Jackson Dart starting this year.
No.
I don't think he's that type of player. If the Giants do somehow start him, I think that's like okay, maybe, but
Waste of money.
Yeah, but okay, so do you want Jackson Dart to be your franchise QB? Because that's what you're trying to tell me right now. You're saying like, okay, we wanted him to sit behind Russell Wilson and like train up and that's gonna be our guy in like 3 years, like Jackson Dart. I don't think that's a good pick. I would have waited next year or like see. I don't think this is the year of QBs right now. And I think that might have been a bad pick.
Yeah, for all the people, like, I know you weren't a big fan of this. I know you hate this take. But in my mind, and I know the meme accounts have been going absolutely bonkers over some of this guy's bloopers. But if you can get past what those stupid ass NFL meme pages are posting, you can book this now. I always have a big swing and a miss in the draft, and I don't mind if this is my swing and a miss. Tyler Shuck. I take Tyler Shuck over Jackson Dart as my franchise quarterback. I will say, in the big games, Tyler Shuck was not the reason Louisville lost. Unlike Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart in the clutch when he needed to be. Yes. As an athlete, I like Jackson Dart. The little Anakin, like eye black. He's complete Star Wars nerd. I love that about athletes. I love that it's cool to be a Star Wars fan now. Like, believe me, like, it's great that someone who's like, Star Wars prequel era fanboy is starting quarterback of an SEC team. That's fun. That's cool. I think that means we've gone forward as a society. That one of the coolest guys in the SEC loves watching the Clone Wars. Okay, don't get me wrong, but in kind of the clutch moments, Jackson Dart just seemed to fall apart. Like that Florida game, bro got what 4 shots to win that game on the final drive. How many interceptions got overturned? Like 3, and then he proceeds to throw a 4th. Like, I'm not making fun of the guy, but I'm just saying, like, for the shit people are giving Tyler Shuck of all those bad throws and bloopers, how many turn in interceptions that meme pages have shown? I'm telling you, yes, okay. Tyler Shuck's not the most graceful guy out there, but he's got basically the prototypical, early 2000s NFL quarterback build.
He's
Were any
Daniel
of the,
Jones, Gareth. He's Daniel Jones.
were any of those guys graceful? Was Ryan Tannehill graceful? Absolutely
I'm
not.
not saying Ryan
Was
Tannehill's your
Joe
should
Fat?
be your. I'm not saying Ryan Tannehill should be your number, like your pick right now. I don't think the Giants should have selected Jackson Dart, Tyler Shaw, or Ryan Tannehill if he was in this draft right now.
I'm just saying, if they were going quarterback, I would have gone Shuck. I would have gone Shuck over Dart. I'm not saying I would have gone Aiden. I'm not saying I would have even gone quarterback in the first round. I'm just saying
I'm
when it comes
saying
down to it,
your
I
one of
take
your
Shuck
team
over
needs.
Dart.
I'm saying one of your team needs is a linebacker, and you had freaking Jihad Campbell right there. And now you're gonna get sacked by him 50 times a game because you got the Eagles got him. That's what I'm saying right now.
And let me preface this. I hope I'm wrong about Jackson Dart. All the people that I'm saying are bad picks, I hope their career pans out. Like, we're not preying on their
I'm not
downfall. We're
preying
just
on
saying,
Jackson Dart's downfall. I hope he succeeds. I don't think the Giants are going to let him succeed.
yeah, I think honestly, my hot take with how the NFL's been, I think he's going to be one of those guys where, he's 28, 29. He finally gets a new OC, and then he has an insanity run
He's going to be
like we saw
Sam
with Sam
Darnold.
Darnold.
He's
Yeah,
going to be Sam Darnold. I think he's going to. I think he's not going to have a good shot at the Giants like year 3, like year 2 when they finally like throw him to the Wolves. I don't think he's gonna like be. I'm not. I don't think he's gonna perform under their system, and I think he's gonna get like traded somewhere, and I think he's gonna have a good run somewhere else. But I don't think. I think this was a bad pick for the Giants, in my opinion.
I agree. If that's your second round pick, okay. Like, second or third round pick, I can get behind that. Like, but with what was there, that's just not my cup of tea. That's a little rich for my blood. Any other people you want to touch on in the first round?
Um, that I think are like really big need to mention. I think we're good right now. I feel like we hit upon like the big storylines right now. But when it comes to like let's go into like teams that we think. So just going on with like the Panthers overall picks after the first round, their second round they finally selected an edge, Nick Scorton uh, from Texas A&M, and then in round 3 they picked Princely Yamanalian. Yamanalian.
Oh, I don't know how to pronounce it. Aiden, I'm not. I'm just as clueless as you are in pronunciation. I'm not gonna make fun of you. Just let it rip.
Well, we got 2 edges finally. Like that was one of our big needs. This is what I was talking about with one of my coworkers because he's also a pretty big Panthers like fan, and I'm hung up on Mike Green a little bit just because like he had great numbers at Marshall. And do I think he was like the best in the draft? No. Do I think he was round 1 material? Probably not. Like if the Panthers decided to go edge in the first round. Like there were better edge rushers to get. But if we're talking like second round, I think Mike Green would have been like a pretty good pick. But uh, we went with Nick. I like him a lot. Proved to be like very solid at Texas A&M. Uh, just looking at his stats when he was at Texas A&M, very proficient. And I think he's going to he's going to definitely help the Panthers out a lot. And with like our round 3 pick, like we're kind of able to like have a little bit of a backup, like see if one doesn't pan out, go with the other one.
Yeah.
Overall, if I got to pick like maybe like a later round that really stuck out to me, we got tight end Mitchell Evans from Notre Dame. I liked him a lot at Notre Dame. Obviously, I'm a big Notre Dame homer, so like I've seen a good like some good tape on him, and I liked his time at Notre Dame. I feel like he could be like really well developed at Carolina, and I like that 5th round pick, like a good late round steal in my opinion. So overall, like if I like the direction Carolina went in the later rounds when it came to drafting. We did not end up getting a cornerback though, which was one of our team needs, but I believe we might be like fixing that in like free agency.
Yeah, we picked up some DBs in free agency. We picked up, Michael Jackson. He's alive. Yeah, we picked up Michael Jackson. So when it comes to the Panthers, I wouldn't go as far to say as what the NFL, like Aiden and I've talked about here, the NFL gave the Panthers an A grade for the draft. For me, my grade for the Panthers in the draft is around a B plus. I realize that's probably semantics at that point. Like Tet McMillan for me, that's a C minus pick right there. For me, that's a C minus. So, but Nick Skirton, I really like. Umanaman, I like as well. Both very good edge rushers, big need of ours. We picked up an edge in free agency in Pat Jones, but he's kind of like a hybrid edge where he can play that outside linebacker as well. So not only do we have good, young edges come in, but they can learn under Pat Jones, who's been in the league for a few years. Decent outside linebacker, kind of satisfies that outside linebacker and edge need. So well, not only do we get, like I said, talented kids, but we got people that they can learn under. But like when we're talking about late round picks that really stuck out to me that I like it'd have to be Lathan Ransom and Cam Jacks. Cam Jacks or Kim Jackson? Sorry, 1 second. I don't think I wrote his name down. Hold on. Panthers draft picks. It's pulling up. Yeah. Cam Jacks. Yeah, Cam Jackson. He's a 6'6", 328 nose tackle out of Florida. His pass rush isn't where we'd like it to be, but he's one of the best run stopping defensive tackles in the draft. And we've talked about several times in here, the Panthers were the worst team at stopping the run, which is also where this Lathan Ransom pick comes in. He's a hard hitting run stop safety. He's got decent coverage ability, but his main thing is open field tackling and being able to stop the run, kind of rolling down into the box, being almost like kind of a lighter linebacker. So for me, those are 2 picks that I really like. I feel like after kind of botching the first round, I honestly would probably give the Cam Jackson pick an A, Lathan Ransom pick probably a B plus. Another big name we picked up is the Georgia running back Trevor Etienne, brother of former Clemson running back Travis Etienne. A lot of people were a little confused by this pick, but because they're like, we have Jonathan Brooks, who was, that standout running back at Texas. But the thing is, if you look deep into our IR and like the details and reports, Jonathan Brooks is not going to be fully healthy from his ACL surgery, and he may not even play this year either. He may not play this year. That's going to be the second year in a row he's not playing. And obviously, we've got Rico Dowdle we picked up in free agency. Um, why am I blanking on a running back's name? I'm blanking. Why am I blanking on our starting running back's name? Come on. Um, sorry, I'm blanking on Panthers running back. I this is awful that I have to look this up. Chuba Hubbard. Sorry. Oh my god, I can't believe I forgot that. Obviously, with Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard, that's going to give Trevor Etienne just kind of like you said. It's similar with you know, similar with Omari and Hampton. That's going to be some decent NFL running backs who've been in the league a few years to learn under. Maybe not this quality of a line that the Chargers have, but the Panthers, they've been trying to rectify that. They re-signed their better offensive linemen. We picked up some offensive linemen in free agency as well, some solid offensive linemen that were paying some big bucks. So that better show out. But I think this is also a good move by the Panthers. I feel like not only are we investing in the offensive line, we're investing in the run game, and I think outside of I did not realize the tech pick the goal here is. I think the direction the agency's trying to go in, or at least the club's trying to go in, is giving Bryce the best chance he can to succeed. And I think ultimately that's the right direction to go rather than just try and load up on star power. Is we're trying to build a solid foundation for Bryce to succeed because I think the plan initially, I don't think there was very much of a plan initially for Bryce Young. I think the whole thing was just kind of let Bryce cook. We saw how that went. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on like the draft as a whole for the Panthers or like free agency, but is there anything else you want to add for draft wise, or do you want to move on to general draft storylines to finish it
Let's
out?
let's go with general draft storylines, and I just want to start off with Gareth. Mark this time right now as the time I predicted the future, and I called out the NFL for their wrongdoings and the mistakes that they made. Shadur Sanders is going to be a bigger name in Cleveland than LeBron James in 10 years, and you can mark me down as saying that as a fact. Um, how he went down to the sixth round, I feel like it's just pure, like there was defamation of character going on. Pure defamation of character. You're telling me that Shadur Sanders was freaking sixth round material? Listen. This quarterback class was weak in my opinion, besides Cam Ward. Am I saying like Shadur Sanders deserved to be in the round one? Maybe not. I didn't see like the fact that Jackson Dart went ahead of him, I thought was a little bit of an insult, but like, okay, I'll let that one slide. And I know Gareth was harping on freaking what's his name?
Shock.
Danny Dimes number 2.0. Gareth was glazing Danny Dimes 2.0. That's what I'm calling him. Like okay, yeah, I can let those slide. But going all the way to the sixth round, I feel like that's a little bit insane, in my opinion. What did Shadur Sanders do to warrant a sixth round pick? Like he might have bombed a few interviews, like maybe showed that he was a little bit arrogant. But you're telling me that's sixth round material? There's been tons of people that bombed interviews before. I think Shadur Sanders has proven to be a very proficient talent. He doesn't just throw to Travis Hunter. He has a wide variety. He's able to make long throws, has good running ability. He's a good player. If put in a good system, I think he can succeed. And I think I think he's better than Dylan Gabriel, who's Cleveland selected before him. I feel like this has got to be a wake up call for Shadur Sanders, and I feel like he's gonna like tear it up in the next couple years. I think he's gonna do good. If this comes back to haunt me and comes down as one of my worst takes of all time, you know what? Sue me. But Shadur Sanders will be a bigger name in Cleveland than LeBron James, and you can quote me on that.
For good reason or for bad reason, he will be a bigger name in Cleveland.
Yes.
Another like Shadur Sanders line that I thought was kind of disrespectful is the Toronto Argonauts are already betting on him failing. in that they've already purchased the not necessarily purchased, but they've already signed the exclusive rights to negotiate with them if he ever leaves the Browns organization. So I don't think Shadur will ever fall to the CFL. I don't think he'll ever be that down bad. He may have like a rough season, but I don't think he's ever going to end up out of the league. Like, I think he's good. I don't think he's first round talent, but I don't think he's like CFL bad. I don't think he's not CFL bad. So other storylines that I'd like to talk about is I'd like to update my little prediction. So Riley Leonard, perfect pick for the Indianapolis Colts, if I'm being honest. The big thing about the Colts that people would talk about, or at least I'd seen in circles, is how much their offense changed when Anthony Richardson would inevitably go off with a concussion. We have a win-win here for Indianapolis. He goes off with a concussion. For the 10th time, guess what? You can run the same damn offense with Riley Leonard.
Riley Leonard has also done some some off-season trading before with former Indianapolis Colt Phillip Rivers. I feel like that might have been a little bit of influence into going into this pick. I think it's good safe pick in like the 5th round for Indianapolis. I think that was a good backup QB pick for them.
Yeah, and they don't have to change their scheme too much. And with Tyler Warren being that Swiss Army knife, there's a lot of interesting packages and formations and possibilities this could bring up. I'm not saying I'm not like you brought this up earlier. I'm not saying this is going to turn into some like revolutionary thing where the first time Miami brought out the Wildcat offense and took down the Patriots. Like, yes, this may be a one-game thing, but ultimately it's going to be more of like gimmick and gadget stuff, like short yardage, they need a play to get a first down. It's going to be that type of stuff. This isn't going to be like, your every play.
He's going to have like one good game and basically be like hyped up for like 2 weeks.
I wouldn't say one game, but I think he's at the very least, he's going to be a decent backup at best for right now, at least for the first year. He's going to be kind of almost like a short yardage guy when they don't want to bang up Anthony Richardson too much. Like, I feel like you could use him this is going to sound awful, but I feel like you could use him as almost like a battering ram. Like, Richardson's been getting hit too much, and you need to run, the right play call is a direct snap, but Richardson's just got clocked on the last play. You just send Riley Leonard and just, take a few shots for him, just kind of soften the blow. I don't know if that's sadistic or not, but I feel like that's just what I do in NCAA 25 when my quarterback gets hurt. So, any other storylines you want to talk? I mean, obviously we got the Quinn Ewers taking like a 75% pay cut.
I think 7th round was a little insane for Quinn Ewers.
I think that's I think it's disrespectful.
What did he do? Like, okay,
what did they say in
his last season wasn't the best. He's still good. Why is it everyone was like, no, there's never been a bigger miscalculation in high school rankings than Quinn Ewers? Are we high? Is everyone just high right now? What about, what was it, Tate Marshall or something like that?
Tate Martell.
Tate Martell went from Ohio State to freaking UNLV and then just decided now he's in LinkedIn. He was a 100 rated high school talent, and we're saying that Quinn Ewers is worse than him. He had a good season at Texas, and statistically speaking, this season wasn't that bad. It wasn't like, I'm not going to say it's round 1, round 2. I'm not even saying it's first 2-day material. If you ask me, if Arch Manning wasn't Quinn Ewers' backup, I feel like nobody would care. Nobody would care right now. If Arch Manning wasn't his backup, he would probably either get that extra year at Texas or maybe transfer out just because it's not looking good. But because everybody knows Arch Manning and Arch Manning, phenomenal talent, I think he's going to do great. If
Yeah.
Arch Manning wasn't your backup and you had the same year at Texas, nobody would have been like calling you to just declare for the draft because Quinn Ewers was put in a weird spot. If he transferred, it would just look like he was running from Arch Manning, which, to be fair, you probably should, just because that pressure on you was too much.
Yeah.
Like you can't have it. So Quinn Ewers was put in a weird spot where he couldn't transfer to a different school just because it's going to look bad. Do I think it would have been best if he did? Yeah, I do. But like
Yeah.
seventh round, seventh round, that's a little insane in my opinion. I think everybody who's just hating on Quinn Ewers, I don't think he's that bad. Everyone kind of needs to chill on him, in my opinion.
Yeah. I feel like this was the draft of kind of like, knee jerk reactions in certain situations, just the Shedeur Sanders. Even with Cam Ward, I think he's good, but I don't think he's unretire Warren Moon's jersey number good.
Yeah,
Like, yes, I get Cam Ward's number is 1, but like, and I get that like I need to do more research. That could be, I realize that could be a Warren Moon decision.
yeah.
That could be Warren Moon seeing something in him and be like, I understand that's this kid's number. I want this kid to have his number.
Hmm.
But if that's like an organization thing, there's been a lot of weird stuff going around with jersey retirings. Like,
I think we need to do away with jersey retirings. If I'm going to be honest, I think you put a jersey up in the Raptors, like say yes, this was Warren Moon number one, but let's not deify numbers. Like you get it gets weird like when you're in the Boston Celtics and like half the available numbers are retired. Most of them probably before like slavery was illegal. Now,
yeah,
granted, like I know, like okay, don't flame me in the con. Like, like I know my history. I know, like that was a joke. That's a joke right there. I just want to say before I get roasted in the comments, like yes, NBA 75 years old, yada yada yada. That's a joke. But the Boston Celtics are so old, they probably were around when slavery was around. Let's be real. Like
yeah,
that's how insane their jersey retirements are. Like I think we need like I want to respect former players that have done good, but like in 100 years from now, like let's say somehow Carolina retires number one for Cam Newton. Like I think they should like if you're going by retirements, he's somebody that deserves to be a number retired. In 100 years from now, people are going to be asking like, "Oh, what did Cam Newton do? What did Cam Newton do?" Like we should have like, "Hey, this was our number one player in the past. We have a little like section in the stadium or something like named after him. We have like the number right next to it." But I think it should be. I feel like we're too weird when it comes to like jersey
yeah,
retirements and stuff like that. Like I think that's something that needs to be done away with, and I think we're going to get moved towards that like 20 years from now. Once it's going to start getting insane.
yeah. One thing like that I like that NC State does is they don't necessarily retire it, but like so for Russell Wilson for 16, whoever gets it gets a patch with like their name and is like, the coach gives the numbers. Like if it's like a number that's meaningful, it's like, a former really good NC State player. It's like the coach gives that number to someone who embodies those characteristics. Now,
Yeah,
obviously, NC State, I think, has 2 or 3 retired jerseys. It's Ted Brown, who won the like I think literally still holds NC State records for rushing, like that are like untouchable. So 48's gone, but who's gonna wear like I unless you're like some sort of fullback or tight end, I really don't see anyone else wearing 48. 17 for Philip Rivers, obviously. Um, he's one of the people NC State's had highest in the Heisman voting, and then 18 for Roman Gabriel, who was one of the first quarterbacks in the non-white quarterbacks in the NFL to pass for 2,000 yards. And I know that sounds like a pretty low bar, but he also played in the NFL where it was still acceptable to run the ball on third down and it not be a draw play. Like it was still like, that was, your go-to third down play was running the ball.
Yeah.
Like you threw out of the I formation. He was like, I think he might have been the first non-white quarterback to go first overall as well. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
that's how monumental Roman Gabriel. Like Roman Gabriel, that is a number you need to retire. Like that is a number you retire.
If we're going by you need to retire numbers, like he's a monumental
Yeah,
play. Do I
yeah,
think like numbers should be retired? No, but I do think I think there should be like I think we can people are thinking like you can have one and not the other. I think you can respect a number while it's still being in
yeah.
circulation. Like I think
Yeah,
Notre Dame doesn't even like retire numbers. Like there's been tons of like players that still wear number 3 after like Joe Montana. There's like that's what I like. I like it when you have a number and you make it your own. And it's important to still remember like the players that were monumental, like Roman Gabriel. But we can do that in other ways other than retiring a number. But if you're going by retiring number logic, I think that's a good like standard to have.
yeah. But no, I get that. I feel like it's gone too far. I think they need to move in a like direction like soccer does, at least in European soccer, where it's like it's someone what NC State does. You give that number to someone who like embodies those qualities.
Yeah.
Like I get like now soccer's a little different where like you theoretically could wear any number, but there's like acceptable numbers to wear. It's kind of like how you don't see quarterbacks wearing like number 85. Like in soccer, you don't see unless they're like, like one of the younger players who you've just called up from the youth academy or the farm system.
Mm-hmm.
You really don't see players running around wearing like 45 or something. Most people's numbers are 39 and under. You may see a 42 on a goalkeeper, but that's about it. Like so. But no, I get what you're saying. Like I can understand it because at some point you're going to run out of jerseys. Like if you look at the numbers the current Celtics wear, some of them are really odd for basketball players. Like
Yeah.
I'm like, now I know the NBA already has some odd numbers. Like Luka wearing 70, didn't he wear like 77 on one of his teams?
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's some like some of the European players have some odd numbers. But like, because for me, basketball, I feel like basketball just like random numbers in the 40s is like that's acceptable. Random numbers in the 30s is acceptable. But like, we're getting to the point where like I don't know like if this is like this is just me exaggerating, but like we're gonna get to the point where we have like point guards on the like the Celtics wearing like 82 or something like that. There may already be one, but
Mm-hmm.
no. Anything else you want to add to this NFL conversation?
No.
Where should we proceed to next? Shall we head to NHL playoffs since the boys took care of business tonight?
Let's talk about the bunch of jerks that is the Caniacs. Let's go.
So, if you guys cannot tell by our mostly positive demeanor, the Canes finally decided to stop messing around and put away the series. Canes win 4-1 over the Devils in
A gentleman's sweep.
A gentleman's sweep. Yes, 4-1, a gentleman's sweep, dropping only one game in which went to overtime, the second overtime game of the series. It's a great game tonight. They went down 3-0. Aiden and I were texting earlier today. Aiden's like, can we just take care of business tonight? And then at the end of the first period, Aiden texts me, we did not in fact take care of business. as soon as literally I get that text, the second I check my phone from Aiden on that text is when things changed.
Yeah.
Aiden sends that text and
3-0 run.
3-1. Tyler Hall scored, I think, exactly 35 seconds later because I was watching the game. I think, Tyler Hall scored 35 seconds after that text from Aiden. And then Jackson Blake then proceeded to score 2.5 minutes later. And then Andrei Svechnikov scored a minute and a half later after that to make it 3-3. So, yeah. It was a good game. One thing on the whole that I'd like to comment on the series is One thing the Hurricanes really struggle with is scoring while they're on the power play. So essentially, with a skater advantage, the Hurricanes were actually pretty solid on the power play this series. Both of their goals that came in regulation, the first game in New Jersey, came on the power play. Hurricanes have had some other power play goals. I believe they had two tonight. They had two tonight, one in regulation, one in overtime. That one in overtime was giving Aiden and I fits of rage. Angrily texting back and forth. 4-minute power play and we haven't done shit with it.
Oh man, I gotta say this. Shout out Jacob Markstrom from the New Jersey Devils. After the first overtime, I was like, how the hell did he not die? like like how many shots did like Carolina it was an insane number. Like New Jersey only got one quote unquote scoring opportunity that was it was not a scoring opportunity.
Routine save.
Routine save. But freaking Markstrom was just like nothing was getting past him. I felt bad for the guy just because this was looking like some frat hazing ritual where you just kept on hitting at him. But I was just getting pissed off. Once it was second overtime and we were into a 4-minute power play off, I was like, if we don't score off of this, we deserve to lose.
Exactly.
I don't think we would have because just the pressure that Carolina was putting on and the depth that Carolina has, it was going to outmatch New Jersey. And the commentators say this, at the beginning of overtime, the commentators were saying both teams want a quick end to overtime, but if this goes longer than 5 minutes, Carolina definitely has the advantage. But Jacob Markstrom, damn, he played his heart out for letting up 5 goals on a game. Usually not the best by a goalie, but you know what? Hats off to him. Hats off to him.
Yeah, you can see it at the end. For those of you who have access to the highlights or can go back and watch it, watch Jacob Markstrom after the second overtime goal goes in. Just watch him. Bro did not let the Demons win. So for those who don't know, Markstrom lets in the winning goal. By no means his fault. This puck was through traffic. Dude had been on his back the entire overtime, just putting his life on the line. And he finally it was I think he faced it was the shots were 20-1 over both overtime periods. Dude was struggling. It was probably even worse than that. 20-1 was just the first overtime. And one gets through, and after the concert, Markstrom winds up and starts to swing and stick. Realizing at the last minute, he realizes he's swinging at the back of his teammate's head and stops himself. Every single Devils fan I know is not talking about the fact that they lost the series, but they're talking about the fact they're thankful Markstrom didn't give in to his inner demons and that they have a goalie for next year. But no, I can sympathize with his frustration, but that man was about to commit murder in Raleigh, North Carolina. That was about to be murder. But a good series. In all likelihood, the Hurricanes are probably going to face the Capitals next round since the Habs, or for those of you who don't know, the Habs are the Montreal Canadiens. People just call them the Habs because it's easier, and that was actually their original name. So Canadians are currently down 3-1 to the Caps. Should we get into the series on that just with how it's gone?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty – most East series have been a non-event so far, which I feel like is pretty on par for the East. Currently down 3-1. I mean, for those of you who didn't see the atmosphere this weekend at the Bell Center in Montreal, I think the Hurricanes have the best home atmosphere, but the Bell Center in Montreal may be a close second.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is their first home playoff game in I think almost a decade, and that place was rocking. Their first game of the weekend on Friday, they took down the Capitals 6-3 and just not even close. It was the Capitals did not look good. The Canadians were just all over them. They outshot them 40-21. They out hit them 45-26. The Canadians are essentially their play styles like the Hurricanes if the Hurricanes weren't good. Like really reckless, take a lot of risks, a lot of pressure, a lot of forechecking, a lot of just like, full like forechecking for those you don't know is like essentially like full court pressure but for hockey. So they play really reckless, like kind of fly by the seat of their pants. It's they really put themselves out there and they're really chaotic. So, but who knows? We'll see. I think the Capitals take care of business. I mean, they did on Sunday night win 5-2,
Yeah,
and pretty.
that third period though, that was kind of heartbreaking for the Canadians. Just like Brandon Duname just absolutely like turned it on, like tied the game 2-2. Andrew Magapane Mag
Magipane.
Magipane like scored the second goal of the period, making it 3-2, and then Brandon again scores on an empty net 4-2, and then Tom Wilson once again on an empty net 5-2. Like that game was in the Canadians' hands, like going into the third period, and it just did not turn out well whatsoever. And I feel like that's a bad omen for the like rest of the season. Maybe the Canadians can get one more win, but it's not looking good.
Yeah, they're gonna have to win at the Capitals. And while the two first games at the Capitals, they took it to the Capitals. The Canadians took the first one to overtime. And honestly, for the good portion of that overtime, looked like the Canadians might steal one. It's do or die. At this point in the series, if they want to win the series, they're gonna have to win in DC twice. They're gonna have to win in DC twice. I mean, they can't lose,
Yeah.
but I'm just saying, like the task ahead of them, they have to win in DC twice. And the second time around, their game against the Capitals wasn't necessarily as close. Now, I will say the story of this um, series for the Capitals is just heartbreaking empty netters being down one. The games where they haven't lost in overtime, it's been heartbreaking empty netters where they're going for it at the end of the game, pull the goalie. So this series is a lot closer than the score lines let on because of just the desperation they go towards just like kind of the desperation mode they enter into. So what series shall we go to next, Aiden?
Uh, let's talk Toronto versus Ottawa.
Choke Ronto. I got it. Got it.
Yeah, like Toronto, like man, like all I gotta say is like the meme of memes is like there are two meme scenarios that I see like happening. One is if Toronto somehow loses this series, and the other is some if Winnipeg loses their series, which both right now is looking like pretty likely. I mean, I'll say
Increasingly likely.
increasingly likely. I'll say this about Ottawa. So, granted, they were down like 3-0. Second game, lost in overtime. Third game, lost in overtime. Game four, it was looking like another loss in overtime. Ottawa turns that around, and then game five just absolutely puts it on Toronto. So there might be something in the air right now, and Ottawa might pull off and prevent Toronto from winning a playoff series, which is iconic stuff. Like, hey, I need a fact check right here. Uh,
Seeing as this next game is going to be at home for Ottawa, like Toronto's on their heels right now. And for those of you who don't know the history, Aiden's going to fact check it real quick. He's going to get the official numbers, and I'm going to let him make the point. But just give you a little taste. Toronto has a thing
Oh
for
no no no!
throwing
In
away
2020
playoffs.
in 2023 though, they did beat the Tampa Bay Lightning. Uh, but
Well,
before that, in the first
there's
round,
precedent for them
but
throwing away series.
but there was like a long drought where there were like almost 20 years without a playoff series win.
Yeah, that's the only thing that gave my friend hope in that Tampa Bay series last year was just that curse. They not even just losing first round series, the amount of first round series they threw away, like 3-0 leads, 2-0 leads, like 3-1 leads they threw away. It was bad. Now, we'll jump over to the West since Aiden mentioned it. Another curse. Winnipeg.
Oof.
I feel like there's a little less. Well, I don't know. The series is 2-2 right now between the
Yes.
Blues and so for right now,
This one
Winnipeg. I
has
forget.
this series has the better chance of Winnipeg blowing it, but it's not going to be like as detrimental as like Toronto doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
Just because of the
but
historic, so the curse is if like at the end of the regular season, like the best team in the regular season with the most impressive uh, regular season record is the one that's going to do a first round exit. Like that's how the curse goes. I think it was like applied to Boston either last year or 2 years ago. There's precedent for this.
2 years
And
ago they lost. They blew a 3-1 lead against the Panthers
yeah,
after winning the President's Cup.
yes. And uh like that's very likely to happen in this series, but like I don't see it being as like devastating if like Toronto loses their series because like granted Winnipeg like absolute crazy choke job, but at least the St. Louis Blues like they've been on like I said before, we're on a hot streak for the latter half of the season, like once like they got everything kind of together. But in this series, like the home matchups for St. Louis have just been all Blues. Game three, winning 7-2. Game five, winning 5-1. Uh, I'm really interested to see how this series goes, heading back to Winnipeg, just because, like,
Yeah, just particularly with how the Blue, like you said, how the Blues have been able to pull it back after going down 2-0. Looking at the last decade in the NHL, of the last 10 years, the teams that have won the President's Cup, the furthest they've made it is the Eastern Conference Finals. So that would be it's the New York Rangers of 2015 and 2024. They lost in the Eastern Conference Finals, which is essentially the semifinals. Every other year, Boston Bruins 2014 lost in round one. Washington Capitals lost in the second round of the Carolina Hurricanes. 2017, Washington Capitals lost in the second round of the Carolina Hurricanes. Nashville Predators lost in the second round. For 2019, Tampa Bay Lightning loses first round. 2020, Boston loses second round. 2021, Colorado Avalanche loses second round. 2022, Florida Panthers lose second round. 2023, Boston blows a 3-0 lead against the Panthers in round one. That's literally the President's Cup curse for you.
mhm.
90%, 80% of these teams, 80% of President's Cup winners don't make it out of the second round. They don't
Yeah,
make it out of the second round. And a lot of times these teams lose in ugly fashions, like blowing series. Like it's not like a team just jumps out of the gate and jumps all over them. Some of these, it's like they're blowing like 3-0, 3-1 leads. Like it is bad.
yeah.
But I will say, and I don't want to jinx them because I know Canadian teams have not won, you know, the NHL playoffs in a while. So, and it will be nice to see a Canadian team win. Like, I feel like
It's
it's been a
called
while.
hockey. Raw.
It's yeah, but there's particular Canadian teams that I'd be okay with winning it. Edmonton, I think they're the only Canadian team that hasn't won one, if I'm not mistaken. So, or the
They had
Montreal Canadiens,
They
but
had Gretzky though.
have the Oilers won a Stanley Cup? Oh wait, they won one in 1988 and 1990. It's they may not. They just don't have any recent ones. Oh,
Yeah.
but no, it's they're one where it's like no one really likes or no one really hates the Oilers. I feel like outside, I mean, unless it's some Western Conference people, like I'm not like they're a team I'd be okay with winning the Stanley Cup this year. Like
Yeah.
if the Hurricanes don't, so what series should we jump to next? Like there's a lot of interesting ones in the West, but like we also need to cover the East as well. So you can pick whichever one. Since I kind of picked the first couple.
I mean, the only one in the East that like we haven't talked about yet was just Florida versus Tampa Bay. It looks like Florida is going to be taking care of business. Uh, they are going to Tampa Bay for Game 5, but so far the Panthers like won the first two when they were at Tampa Bay, slipped one 5-1 against the Lightning in Game 3. We kind of cleaned up their act Game 4, winning 4-2. So I see this series still going in the Panthers' favor. But going over to the Western Conference, man, there's a lot of. So I think maybe let's talk about Dallas Stars versus Colorado Avalanche, just because uh, I think it's going like granted it's in the Dallas Stars' favor. I still see a world in which the Avalanche pull this off, but this is going to be a very grueling series. So far, most recently, the Stars won 6-2 against the Avalanche at home. Game 6 is going over to Denver. I can see the Avalanche winning that one, and this game could possibly go to a Game 7. And I'm not going to complain just because the the theatrics in this series have been like absolutely insane. Starting off like two overtime games. Game 2, Stars won 4-3 in overtime. Game 3, Stars won 2-1 in overtime. Uh, Avalanche didn't come back, winning 4-0, and now the Stars are up again, winning 6-2. Like I said before in a previous podcast, Nathan McKinnon, absolute unit for the Avalanche. I like him a lot, and I like his ability to get points off of goals and assists. Just kind of like an everyman for the offensive attack of Colorado. And I see him having a big Game 6 where they're going to tie this series 3-3.
Yeah, this is an interesting series where it's been back and forth. It's not, it's very, and I don't want to jinx, knock on wood, I don't want to jinx the East when I say this, but I feel like at least in the West, you know, home games aren't safe. Home games aren't safe. It's a bloodbath. Like, even though some of these teams have fantastic home atmospheres, like the Stars atmosphere is up there with some of the best in the NHL, but it's like the Stars got absolutely whopped at home the first game when it was 5-1. Now, I know anecdotally, if you go back, a lot of those goals in that game were kind of really, really odd goals off some odd bounces, but that's hockey. You're hitting a oddly shaped rubber object on a sheet of ice that's been scuffed up by metal. You're gonna have odd bounces. That's just the nature of the sport. Like so. But this is a series I've enjoyed watching, particularly, just There's some series that I enjoy watching just because it's like, I don't really have a dog in the fight, and it's just I can just sit back and relax and enjoy. So that this is one of those series. Another series that I've really enjoyed watching is the Oilers and the Kings. The Kings jumped out to a 2-0 lead in this series they started out with a 6-5 thrilling win in which the Kings were up 4-1, then they went down 5-4. Or no, they were up 4-1 or 4-1, then the Oilers tied it up at 5-5, and then Denault scored the game winner with 52 seconds left. Then second game, Kings kind of destroy the Oilers 6-2. Next game, Oilers come right back and win 7-4. Oilers then win 4-3 in overtime. And then tonight, the Oilers got it done in Los Angeles, winning 3-1. The Oilers have a chance to take the series coming home on Thursday. They have a chance to win the series despite being the lower seed. So that they can take the series. Kings were a tough matchup. I don't remember exactly who they'll have in the second round, but they'd like to kind of get out of this series with a game in hand so they can get. And these have been brutal physical games, so they love to take any opportunity they can to get whatever extra rest they have by not having to play that extra game on Saturday. So that's another series I've enjoyed. What series are we missing? We're missing Gold.
Golden Knights versus the Wild.
This series has been absolutely back and forth. The Wild are a team I'm really high on. Now they've got their players back from injury. They're currently down 3-2 in the series. I don't think they're out of it. They've got a home game coming up. They fought till the very end earlier tonight. They lost in overtime. It was a back and forth affair. Obviously, Jack Eichel, 2 assists, phenomenal game out of him. He was really impressive tonight. And I know Jack Eichel never really ever disappoints, so I know it's kind of just odd to point that out. But he's been a really solid option for them, as well as Mark Stone. Kaprizov finally getting back to his normal. Kaprizov for the Wild finally getting back to his normal form after being injured for a good portion of the season. Scored on the power play tonight to even it up. Yeah, it was an interesting game. The Wild tied it kind of as time expired, but then Howden scored the game winner with 4 minutes left, or 4 minutes and 5 seconds in overtime. It's really hard to win road overtime games in the playoffs, so nothing to be too worried about there. But Vegas can steal the series with the win, so the Wild are gonna have to take care of business at home against Vegas. I think they can do it. I think they can even the series up 3-3. But Vegas is a team that's really surprised me. They've been able to kind of tamper the Wild. The Wild, they had momentum going for them. Yes, they lost the opening game of the series, but then they came right back 2 days later and absolutely destroyed the Knights 5-2 and then won 5-2 at home. So the Knights have done well to fight back with a road win 4-3 to even the series at 2-2 and then taken the game in overtime tonight. That's 2 straight overtime wins for the Golden Knights. So this series has just been a battle, and either of these two teams I feel like could be really good contenders for the NHL title, or at least Western Conference champions to begin with. So they that's another, I feel like, really solid pick. Just either of those teams, you can't go wrong with taking them in the Western Conference Finals. Anything else we missed? I think we've hit everything. I mean, we kind
of. Let's head into the NBA.
All right, we're going to jump back in. We're going to start with some NBA playoffs. We've got some decent, interesting stories to start with here. Is there a particular series you want to start with in the NBA playoffs?
I want to do a quick recap of the series that I've already wrapped up, and then we can jump into the series that are still ongoing. OKC swept the Grizzlies 4-0. OKC moves on to the second round. The Cleveland Cavaliers swept the Heat 4-0. They move on, and the Pacers gentlemen sweep the Bucks 4-1. They move on, as do the Boston Celtics, winning 4-1 against the Orlando Magic. So Of all these games, I mean, the most interesting one of these series, the most interesting one, in my opinion, was the Indiana Pacers versus the Milwaukee Bucks. Like, there were just some real close ones. Like this past one that went down tonight. Pacers win in overtime, 19-18. Um, Halliburton won it in the final seconds, uh, securing for the win for the Pacers. And just looking at the uh, box score, Giannis had a good enough game, but unfortunately not good enough, scoring 30 points. Gary Trent Jr. Uh, got 33 points. AJ Green 19, and that was on the Bucks side. But on the Pacers, we got some real good depth with TJ McConnell scoring 18 points, Miles Turner scoring 21, um, Aaron Nesmith 19, and Tyrese Halliburton scoring 26 points. He was the one that was able to seal the deal for the Indiana Pacers. They move on. They're going to be facing the Cleveland Cavaliers in the second round, but in series that are still yet to be determined, I feel like the one that I really want to talk about with the like kind of a lot of people scratching their heads. The Lakers are down against the Timberwolves 3-1. Tonight, they go to Minnesota and face the Timberwolves. This is a do or die situation for LA. Their playoff chances are like really under threat right now. The Timberwolves have just been able to like get it by, getting a solid game one win, winning game three and game four. It's starting to slip away from LA, and previously in game four, Luka Doncic scored 38 points, but Edwards for the Minnesota Timberwolves absolutely went off, scoring 43 points, going 5 for 10 on the 3 point, 20, 12 for 23 on field goals, and really consistent when he was getting fouled, going 14 for 17 on the free throw. LeBron James had a solid game, scoring 27 points. Made two threes, five field goals, and was able to keep it like pretty clutch with his free throw percentage. Luka Doncic, though, back with the Lakers, as I mentioned before, scoring 38 points, going 5 for 12 on 3 points, 13 for 28 in field goal percentage. It's just been going the Timberwolves waves, and the Lakers are trying to catch a break now, and they're kind of in a really tight situation right now. And I'm just kind of wondering if they have the intangibles to pull off another win. I think they do. I think this series very well could go to 6 or 7, but right now with just how Anthony Edwards has been playing, I see the Timberwolves maybe upsetting the Lakers right now, especially at the position where they're at right now, where they're up 3-1. This is going to be a really interesting game to watch, and I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, the thing for me with the Timberwolves, I know, the Lakers have all the big stars. They've got Austin Reeves, Doncic, LeBron James, but the Minnesota Timberwolves, they can kind of get it from anywhere. Like they can get good performance out of anyone. Obviously, you know, Anthony Edwards had like the big performance tonight with 43, but you can also get decent performances of Julius Randle. Jaden McDaniels in previous games has been the leading scorer with around 35. You can get decent minutes from DiVincenzo, Alexander Walker, and then as well as Naz Reid. It's just there's guys on this team that you can get good minutes from them, and they're not afraid to let the other people in the squad shine. The only one who didn't score today is the Terrence Shannon Jr. Rookie out of Illinois. But it's not like they needed it. Anthony Edwards kind of put the team on his back tonight. Like you said, I do feel like this game could go to 6 or could go to 7 games. I think the Timberwolves are going to take this in 6, most likely. I think Lakers are going to win the next game at home and kind of do or die scenario. Those do or die scenarios when you're at home. Your teams are any sport, you're almost unstoppable in those do or die scenarios at home. But I think ultimately the Timberwolves are going to get the Lakers at home on the second. So for me, I've got the Timberwolves in game 6.
Moving on to another series, Golden State versus Houston. This one, like I had the Warriors winning this series, but it's looking even more promising for the Warriors than I thought. They've just been able to really get like the bounces that they need and edging out like close wins. Winning against Houston this past weekend, 109 to 106. That was a really close game, but the Lakers, I mean, the Golden State Warriors were really able to like keep pace and keep the Houston Rockets at bay. There were a couple times where it looked like Houston was getting hot, but Golden State was just able to calm everything down and just kind of play their style of basketball. Jimmy Butler scoring 27 points, going 7 for 12 on the field goal percentage. Steph Curry scoring 17, 2 for 8 and 3 point, 6 for 3, 6 for 13 in field goal percentage. Not the most outstanding game by his standards, but Brandon Potsmaleski scoring 26 points, 9 for 18 in field goal percentage. A lot of players are really stepping up right now for the Golden State Warriors, and I see them closing this series out, and I think they might have the makings to make an even deeper run into the playoffs than I thought originally before, especially if Jimmy Butler continues to play his style of basketball. I heard this analogy before, and I really like it, so I'm going to repeat it for this pod. But Jimmy Butler is like that smart kid in class that maybe might not get the best grades like during the middle of the semester, but like once it's final season or like once it's like maybe the first exam, he does really well and then decides to like taper off a little bit and then like kind of gets in like a sticky situation. But then like once the finals hit,
That man got
play
motion to win.
Jimmy Butler got motion. Jimmy Butler got motion. And I think the Warriors picking him up was a very great pull, especially considering the fact that if you see the Heat now, they just got swept. They're kind of lost, like without Jimmy Butler right now, and I really hope to see him do a deep run in the playoffs. Maybe potentially get a ring with the Golden State Warriors. So we don't know, but that's really interesting, and I'm excited to see how the Warriors continue to turn out in these playoffs. Heading back over to the East, the only series that is still going on right now is the New York Knicks versus the Detroit Pistons. Um, this one, New York leads the series 3-2. Detroit was able to get a win this night tonight, winning 106-103. The Pistons have kind of been able to really like make this series a lot more interesting than I originally thought it was going to be. Cade Cunningham scoring 24 points tonight, going 6 for 17, field goal percentage, and uh, Ozar Thompson going 8 for 10 in the field goal, scoring 22 points. Detroit found a way to win, and I give props to them for making this series a lot more interesting. But I still see New York taking this one. Bridges and Towns I think are going to have some really big games, or a really big game this in the next couple days when they play again. And I just think New York is they're a little antsy right now. They kind of got a little bit complacent after winning two straight in the playoffs, but slip ups are bound to happen. But May 1st, they're going to go to Detroit to face them in game six. I got New York taking this series, and yeah, that just kind of wraps up my analysis for the East. But going back to the West, we still have Denver versus LA. Nikola Jokic has continued to perform very well. Nuggets won Game 5, 131 to 115. This is where like the Nuggets have really kind of started to separate themselves from the Clippers a little bit. Um, Originally, the Clippers were up 2-1, getting two games in game two and game three. It was looking like they were starting to get control, but now the Nuggets have really kind of like started to show their dominance a little bit more. And it's all credit to just Nikola Jokic being able to perform in the clutch, but also Aaron Gordon scoring 23 points, uh, 7 for 11 in field goals. Russell Westbrook had a really good game, scoring 21 points off the bench, going 8 for 15, 3 for 6 and 3 point. I see kind of a little bit of a resurgence for Russell Westbrook right now. I mean, I haven't necessarily been paying attention to him like too much during the regular season, but I've been really liking his playoff performances as of late. And if he's able to kind of keep the streak going, I see him working with Jokic very well and taking the series eventually. But that kind of sums up my brief overview of the NBA. Do you have any takeaways, Gareth?
With this Clippers series, it's certainly an interesting one. I feel like the Clippers and the Nuggets, they're both teams where it's like, yes, they have like, the big names. Clippers obviously have Kawhi Leonard. Um, Denver Nuggets always like, Jokic. One person that's got, I feel like, doesn't get a lot, like they get a decent amount of attention, but Jamal Murray had a fantastic game, 41 points or 43 points. That's big. That's huge here, especially with names like Jokic, Gordon, and Westbrook on either team. Um, Chris Dunn for the Clippers, kind of a sneaky quiet game, 2 assists, 15 points, Fryer. So had to mention that one, him there, former Fryer
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the big leagues. Um, but I feel like I don't know. These are probably the teams I know the least about. The most I know about the Clippers is their new logo. So I've been trying to be more informed about the NBA this season. So, I mean, obviously Harden on the Clippers. That's another one. Harden kind of had a quiet night, but it's ultimately, I think if the Clippers are going to want to kind of turn this series back around, you're going to need big games from everyone. And I know, like I said, these are teams where it's like it can come from anywhere. But I think it's not just going to be one guy on one night. It's not going to be one night Kawhi, one night Harden, one night Chris Dunn, or something like that. I feel like it's gonna have to be a collective effort from all of them. Like I mean, Zubac already. I mean, he had a good game. It was 27 points, but like I said, it's going to take all of them because as of right now, um, I think what is it? There's two more games left in the series. There's gonna be one in LA and then one in Denver. You're gonna have to take both here. It's win or go home at this point for the Clippers. So you're gonna need everyone here. So other than that, other series. Only thing I will note on Knicks Pistons is the Pistons are 1-2 at home in the playoffs right now. Detroit's won twice in the Garden, and that's something that's incredibly hard to do at any level when you're the visiting team. Is that's it's not only is it the mecca for basketball fans, just with the events and tournaments that are hosted there. It's a pretty imposing home atmosphere that the Knicks have there, and it's certainly impressive that the Pistons not only have gotten them once there but twice. So it certainly will be it make for an interesting finish if the Pistons are able to take care of business at home in Game 6. So that could just make things just slightly a little more interesting for that Game 7 if it does come to it. So that's really all I have for the NBA. So shall we proceed to college baseball to kind of round it out?
Let's proceed.
All right, big weekend in college baseball. I'll start out with this: NC State taking the 3-0 series sweep over number 2 Clemson. Um, NC State started off Friday by run ruling Clemson 14-4 in the seventh. NC State's Braden Fraseman hit 5 for 5 that day. Had I believe 7 RBIs and 2 home runs. He had himself an absolute day. And normally when a person has a game like that, they kind of cool off. No. He was 11 for 12 on the weekend at the dish. So decent game. The next game, I think he had a few runs batted in the next day. Let me fact check that. D1 baseball scores. Let me fact check that. Let me go up. Sorry, I'm just kind of all over the place. I don't remember the exact stats because I didn't get to watch every single bit of the games, but it was definitely an interesting series. I don't think Clemson didn't play that bad. It was just down the stretch. NC State was able to whittle them down, force Clemson to go deep into their bullpen to their less experienced guys. It was a lot of this series was NC State did just enough to get through the starting pitcher. They were able to trade punches with Clemson. And then when it came time for the relievers to come in, NC State was able to jump in, work the pitch counts really well. I think that was the main thing that NC State that helped NC State not only get through the starters, but kind of whittle down the psyche and the nerve of the relievers was they were able to really work pitch counts, really work the counts, able to turn 0-2 counts into 3-2 counts, able to work a lot of walks, get a lot of runners in scoring position. NC State was phenomenal with runners in scoring position. It was kind of an all-around effort. It looked good. Bullpen looked great. Jacob Dude came out, looked awesome. After, kind of the rough start he had, we thought we were going to see NC State's other, kind of star reliever, Derek Smith, who spent most of this year hurt. That damned, USA baseball team. They broke Duden and then they broke granted Duden's injury wasn't as bad, but they broke both of our relievers. So, well, it was great to see them get recognition. It was not nice, having them have to wait till now to kind of come into their own in the season, but it's a huge series win. NC State currently sits atop of the ACC. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of shakes out once Florida State. I think their series is canceled. But when Florida State, kind of evens out the amount of games played, it'll be kind of interesting to see where everything falls. As of right now, NC State currently is locked in for a double bye in the ACC tournament, which is a big and kind of helps even after their loss night to, UNCW. But those midweek games, like Aiden and I've talked about on here, no one really cares what happens in a midweek game. That's like your freshman playing. Like that's the chance for your freshman to get in. So obviously an ugly loss night, but obviously after this weekend, after being 7-0 in our last 7 games, I'm perfectly okay with dropping a game midweek. So not too worried. I do think we're going to have to, win the series this weekend against Miami, and I think we will. And I think next Tuesday we're going to have to do a better job against UNC Wilmington when we play them a second time. I think we need to take a dub there in order to take momentum into Chapel Hill. So other than that, just some very general stuff. I mean, there's some stuff I could touch on with the Clemson series, but I think if I'm being honest, the score line in the first 2 games kind of says it all. Clemson was able to get runners on base, but the main reason Clemson wasn't able to hang is, like Aiden and I talked about with Cal on and off screen, is that they were good at getting runners on. It was just they couldn't drive them in. It was this NC State pitchers did a very good job of working out of jams and just being able to kind of finish the job. And then Sunday, obviously, for the sweep, I think Clemson had just gone through so many pitchers in the bullpen trying to salvage Saturday that Sunday was kind of a lost cause at that point, and it just kind of fell apart in the end. And it was ultimately the fact that NC State had more experienced pitchers left whereas Clemson was kind of down to some of their guys with less experience, some underclassmen, some upperclassmen who were coming back from injuries who didn't have necessarily too many outings under their belt that year. So a lot of inexperience on Sunday for Clemson, which funny enough was their closest game with us. But like I said, I feel like NC State worked that matchup perfectly, and I think it brings us a lot of good momentum going into the next couple of series. So.
Yeah, going into UNC baseball, UNC was able to get the series over Pittsburgh starting on Friday. Tar Heels take the first game 15-5. Jake Knapp continues his winning ways at pitching, continuing his 9-0 run. This game, just absolutely all Tar Heels starting off. First two innings, 1 run piece. Going into the fourth inning, UNC ends the top of the fourth 3-0, where Pittsburgh comes back, scores 2 points, but then in the fifth inning, Tar Heels take 3 runs. Stevenson able to get a homer with 2 RBIs, and Gallagher homers in the fifth inning to get that third run. And then in the seventh inning, Gallagher homers again to get 2 RBIs. And basically, it was all Tar Heels from there. And that leads us to game 2, where Pittsburgh takes it 4-2. Aiden Haw goes 4 for 4, and in his pitching series with the Pittsburgh's Ryan Reed taking the win on this one. This was a pretty, it started off and it was pretty much all Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh able to get a run in the first inning, and into the second inning, Pittsburgh was able to get 2 runs in, and it just wasn't looking good until the seventh inning, when Carolina finally scores after another Gallagher homer. But in the end, it just wasn't enough. Carolina really just didn't get it going, only scoring after that in the eighth inning with Bass homering it to right field. Which led us to our Sunday matchup, where UNC was able to take the series 6-1. The story of this one is just that seventh inning that UNC had, able to get 4 runners in, and UNC was able to shut out Pittsburgh and get the win. And that leads us to our midweek game, where UNC goes up against George Mason, winning 13-4. Pretty much nothing really of note midweek matchup, but UNC has another midweek matchup today, going up against Queens University. Should be an easy win on paper. Queens only has 6 wins this season. But UNC is taking a bye this weekend for exams, and next week they will be playing Campbell, and after that, NC State. I'm really excited for that one. I actually might go to a few of those games, because those games are happening during my graduation. So I'll see if my student pass still applies, because I will no longer be a student. So updates on that. We'll see if they kick me out of the student section or not. I don't think that would be that big of a deal, but we'll see. But yeah.
Yeah, and college baseball is a hidden gem. Tickets really aren't that, unless it's the NCAA tournament. Tickets really aren't that expensive either. So it's like,
I still refuse
it's,
to pay.
yeah, no, I'd still refuse to pay too. No, I'd use that student discount if you got it, Aiden.
I'm going to show them my student ID. If they say something, I'll show them my diploma.
It's college baseball. I think they're trying to get as many people in there as possible, especially playing state, Aiden. Do you think they're gonna care?
Nah,
A ranked
bro,
matchup.
I
That's
got my girlfriend in off of a picture of my student ID that I sent onto her phone.
oh my god. Offers
They don't care.
they don't care. No, and it's college. It's gonna be a ranked matchup against state. They're gonna want to
I'll
pack as many
probably
people in there as possible.
I'll keep my student ID and whenever I'm back in Raleigh. I don't care if I'm 30 years old. I'll show it to them.
Yeah, that's me.
No money for you.
But no, I think for right now, I think that does it for us here at Tobacco Road and Abroad. Next week's the quarter mark in the in MLB, so we'll probably do some review there, kind of review our predictions, see where stuff is, kind of highlight some big stories.
Braves, what happened, man?
Rockies, what are you doing? 4 wins. And honestly, I have a hot take about the torpedo bats. I think it's going to be pretty. I've done some research, and I think not that like it's my research like I did the scientific studies, but I've looked into some stats, and I think there's some interesting findings about the torpedo bats.
Mm.
So we'll talk about that later. But thank you guys for listening in. This episode should be up by Thursday. Just try and have this out pretty soon so we can get some clips up. We try to clip farm as much as possible. We try to aura farm this episode. So we admitted it. Some of this is staged. So, thank you guys for listening in, and we will see you next week.